Here's Alex Jones.
Let me simplify it for everybody out there. You had a private group of banking families for over 200 years in England that got control of the United States in 1913, got control in Europe after they funded Hitler, and then basically double-crossed, triple-crossed him and let him destroy Europe. This is all mainline history that the public doesn't know. They want global domination. They want control. They've gone into hundreds of third world countries, paid off dictators and corrupt governments to not pay back their IMF and World Bank debts, money that was created out of nothing. They then go in and take control of those nations and set up police states there. They are now doing that here in the United States. In 2002, with horror, in March of 2002, the BBC got over 2,000 pages of IMF and World Bank documents. Joseph Stiglitz quit and went public about it, where they plan to implode the West money supply by radically inflating derivatives and currencies and devaluing them. I'm only telling you what they planned. And I told you day after day, week after week, month after month, year after year, they would devalue the dollar and create a trilateral system. 3 global regional currencies. That's Bloomberg headline today. They engineer the crisis. They then offer the solution. And when they inflate the currency, the central banks control it. They get to buy up real assets, but you get to pay taxes back on all of that. And they're talking about the massive taxes we're going to be paying. Now, they want to socialize the United States, but not the classic socialism you think of the people being paid by the government and, quote, helping everyone, which is a load of bull. Why do the big private banks fund all this? They want to get us under their control. They want to destroy the real economy to where we'll still have jobs at corporations and companies, but they'll have government contracts. And then you will basically be totally dependent on government, which itself is controlled by these private central banks that under these new international banking agreements and this, quote, New World Order banking structure being set up, according to Nicolas Sarkozy, Merkel of Germany, Brown of England, Bush of the United States. And people saying, well, don't worry, the man on the white horse is coming to save us. For those who don't know, that's an alluding to Napoleon Bonaparte, who rode a white horse, the tyrant. Oh, he will fix it. He will change things. He's gotten 3 times the money from Wall Street, the ones doing this, that John McCain has. And I'm not saying vote for John McCain. Folks, I remember when all of these well-meaning Republicans, after 8 horrible years of Bill Clinton, and my radio show on AM and FM, it's much bigger on the web now and overall bigger, but I was on over 80 stations in 2001. I talked about this Friday. And they loved me. I was bashing Bill Clinton and the New World Order and the police state and everything. And the radio station owners, they thought that, oh, this is a good right-winger like us. He's bashing Bill Clinton. In the last 6 months of Bill Clinton's office, I said, look, it doesn't matter who wins, Al Gore or George W. Bush. They're both New World Order. Look at what they've said and done and who finances them. And all of a sudden, stations were like, well, we don't know if we're going to carry your show anymore. You're saying that it's both parties controlled. You're not saying it's Republicans good, Democrats bad. And I said, look, I'm an American. I just tell it like it is. Bill Clinton's evil, but he's a puppet. No, George Bush is evil, so the liberals think Bill Clinton's going to save them. And then Bill Clinton, 8 horrible years of tyranny and corruption and Chinese generals in the White House and cocaine dealers being pardoned and unbelievable corruption and all sorts of murders of political dissidents and people. And then I was some, right-wing hero to the right wing, and the left hated me. Then George Bush comes in, intensifies the New World Order. Suddenly the left loves me. And I'm going, listen to me. I'm not a leftist. I'm not a right-winger. I'm a constitutionalist. I report the facts. I report history. I know what I'm talking about. I know of what I spent under Barack Obama. The establishment wants Barack Obama because he can sell the New World Order agenda to all the anti-Bush people. Just like George Bush could sell the New World Order agenda to all the anti-Bill Clinton people. No matter what president it is, everybody ends up basically hating them. They end up leaving office unpopular because they've done unpopular things the people don't want. And they give us a new president, and it takes us a few years to figure that out, and by then they give us another fake president. Stop looking for solutions in Washington. Here's the good news. I've interviewed a bunch of congressmen. I've seen a lot of other news stories where they would get 5,000 calls to 1, 1,000 calls to 1. Polls showing 95+% against the bailout, the banker takeover bill, the banker dictatorship bill. But see, therein is the evidence. 95% or more are against the banker takeover bill. The people aren't as stupid as some say, but the establishment says, and both parties say, we don't care, we're going to do it. And the stock market plunges anyways, because that's what they want, so they can buy it all up cheap. Your phone call straight ahead. A ton of incredible police state news as well. Stay with us. On a happier note, I talked to Willie Nelson today. Talked to Jesse Ventura a couple days ago. They're going to be popping back in on the show next week. I'll just cover this now, or I'll never get to it. Then I'll go to your calls about the financial collapse that's happening by design to bring in the world government. I had Willie Nelson on my radio show about 2 months ago. I've been a listener for a long time. I found out he was a listener by running into him at a premiere of Endgame about 14 months ago. I was like, oh, Willie Nelson, wow. And found out he'd been listening for more than a decade. Of course, he lives here in Austin, and I was surprised. And he went public for 9/11 Truth on my radio show. In fact, right here. And he had his third appearance with us on the radio. He'll be on for an hour, by the way, Wednesday, right at the start of the show. We have another big guest Tuesday coming up right at the start of the show, but I'm going to leave that as a surprise. But a new guest, never before been on with us, pretty big. We'll just leave it at that. Tuesday on the weekday show, start of the show. For some reason, all these big guests want to come on right at the start. But we did have Ron Paul, by the way, talking about, yes, this is world government. Yes, this is by design. Yes, they want to create a financial collapse so the public then begs for martial law when there's rioting in the streets. That's up on Infowars.com, PrisonPlanet.com. But talk to Willie Nelson. I'm going to be doing an interview out at his world headquarters Sunday afternoon. And then after that, we are going to be having an event at the last backyard at the current location. Almost 30 years it's been there. Out off 71, out in the hill country. Was out in the hill country. Now it's surrounded by a big mall. But it's really nice. And Willie had the idea on air. Because a caller called in and said, you ought to have a 9/11 Truth / anti-war concert. And Willie said, Alex, look into it. I want to do that. And then I was about to rent some big venue here in Austin. He said, look, just come to my event and invite Jesse Ventura down to that. And so you can... It's sold out, but you can still get tickers. You can still get tickets to the event from scalpers and people. And it's going to be historical. There's going to be a lot of surprise guests there. I'll tell you one of them and take the surprise out of it. Jimmy Vaughn's going to be up there playing guitar with Willie Nelson on stage. My good friend Jimmy Vaughn. We'll say hi to Jimmy and his wife and kids. And so that is coming up Sunday. And that's the good news. I mean, we have all these prominent people, former German defense ministers and Italian presidents and best actress this year, and director Rick Linklater, and now Bruce Willis knows about the New World Order and isn't a neocon anymore. We woke him up, told folks about that, and they didn't believe it, and then he told Vanity Fair it was true. Just hundreds of prominent people. And that's an indicator of a society saying no to the New World Order. And that is the good news here, is that 95%, in some polls higher, but the average poll was 95% 3 weeks ago with the banker takeover bill, the bailout. 90+% were saying no to it in polls, 1,000 to 1 phone calls. Barbara Boxer said it was 9,000 calls to 1. And they really marked that down. Senator Boxer said 9,000 to 1. 9,000 to 1. But let's go with what other congressmen on my show. Who was the one from Fort Worth we had on? Burgess said about 1,000 to 1. They had 2,500 phone calls, and he said like a couple of them were for the bankers taking over. And so we have 1,000 to 1 phone calls conservatively. We have 95% plus saying no, and it happens. So I can sit here and say the American people are dumb or they're idiots or they don't know. No, they do know what's going on. These are the banks that did this. But some still believe, well, I'm against it, but they're idiots and we got to bail them out. No, ladies and gentlemen, in their own documents, this is by design. And I know I continue to harp on that. It's because we don't have a future if we don't say no. This is criminal. I don't have words to describe how incredible it is to have Henry Paulson and another Goldman Sachs guy, his adjunct, Kashkari, handing out the trillions of dollars to themselves in secret meetings. And again, even CNBC, I don't watch a lot of TV, but I was on the treadmill, I think Wednesday morning, and they had like an hour of yelling and screaming about they couldn't believe it was secret and God knows what really happened and this is illegal. Ron Paul's called for Treasury Secretary to be arrested. Paulson, Fed Chairman of the Private Federal Reserve, Bernanke, to be arrested. He listed the crimes they committed a few weeks ago on the show. He's back on Friday. But, I mean, we're here telling you what's happening, and to know they're doing it, to know they're setting up the New World Order run by the banks. The banks are bankrupting the world by design, and then they have the power because they control the central governments, the U.S., England, and Europe, and the most powerful militaries, to make the world then accept their takeover plan and a remonetization of the debt through a global currency they control.